Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're watching me from. My name is Dr. Obioramba Iboweze, reaching you from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Remember, at Nkolo Mahadum, we advise you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call akonuche, to evaluate all the information they are throwing to you from all over the place before you can make a better decision. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Like our program. Comment. And most importantly, share. Share it to your friends and well-wishers and family members. Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University is an university set up for you, where we present issues from Biafran and African perspectives, where we encourage you to see issues from how they are affecting you as a Biafran and as an African. And today's date is for market day in the 8th month of the Igbo lunar calendar called Onwa Ilomwo. And in the Roman Catholic calendar, today's date is 9/17/2024. And today, we have packaged another explosive, interesting lecture for you to understand what is going on around the world and how decisions being made very far away in Europe and other places are affecting you as a Biafran and an African. And so the title of today's lecture is Only Two Seats Without Veto Power Are Being Contemplated to be given to Africa in the Security Council of the United Nations. And we think Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University is of the position that 2 seats, Africa deserves more than 2 seats, and they should also have veto power for the following reasons. And we have to give you a brief history of how the Security Council began. The Security Council began with the formation of the United Nations. United Nations was formed to replace the League of Nations, which they deemed ineffective after the Second World War. And you know, the Second World War was won by the Allied forces. Who are the Allied forces? The Allied forces are led by USA, United Kingdom, Soviet Union, France, and China against the one they called the Axis powers. The Axis powers are Germany, Italy, and Japan. So the Allied forces, after winning the Second World War, decided to put structures in place to prevent another world war from occurring. And that led to the formation of the United Nations. And the United Nations officially began on October 24th, 1945, after being ratified by China, France, Soviet Union, United Kingdom, and the United States, and others. And following that, they also created the UN, United Nations Security Council, to maintain world peace So they created the United Nations Security Council to maintain world peace. Actually, the first session was held on January 17, 1946. But due to the problem of the Cold War between the United States and Russia, it wasn't very prominent at that time. Now, in the formation of the Security Council, they have permanent members. They have 5 permanent members. Who are the 5 permanent members? They are China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, and the United States. You can tell all the permanent members are all from the Allied forces, those that won the war. Because those that won the war, they are not the one in charge. So they gave to themselves what they call veto power. So what that veto power means is that even if all the 4 says no and one person votes no, the veto power goes to that person that says no. And if you have been following what has been going on, you can tell the country that has been exercising that veto power. Always they use that veto power to say no, even when the other 4 is saying yes. And so currently, the United Nations Security Council is composed of 15 members. And out of that 15 members, 5 are permanent members. These members that are permanent are not changeable. They're always there on the table. And then the other 10 are elected for 2-year term. So every 2 years, they will elect 10 people to join these 5 permanent members. Every 2 years, they will elect, the UN General Assembly will elect 10 countries to join the 5 permanent members. But the 5 permanent members, which will always be there, are China, France, Soviet Union, United Kingdom, and United States. They will always be on the table, and they have veto power. No matter what you say, when one of them says, when one of the members says no, that no is what we go. You see the world we live in? This is how you, Biafran and African, have to be saying things. That the United Nations were formed by those who won the Second World War. And all of them were given permanent members in the UN Security Council. And then each of them also have veto power. The 5 of them that won the war, they have veto power in the Security Council. And then every other person is voted on a 2-year term. But why the 5 are permanent and have veto power? Now, Africa is the second largest and second most populous continent after Asia. Africa covers 11.7 million square miles with about 1.4 billion people as at 2021. Europe is the second smallest continent, covering about 3.93 million square miles and about 738 million people. Europe. So why Africa, that is sitting on 11.7 million square miles with 1.4 billion people, don't have permanent membership in the United Nations and don't have no veto power in the Security Council? The small Europe with covering the area of 3.93 million square miles and having 738 million people, have 3 countries that are permanent members in the Security Council, and they have veto power. Those countries are France. France has about 66.4 million people. United Kingdom has about 65 million people. And Russia has about 143 million people. So the smallest continent, having 738 million people, have 3 countries there that are in the permanent position, are permanent members, and exercising veto power. You see the world we live in? And that's why Nkola Mahad want to ask a question. So since the formation of the United Nations Security Council in 1946 to this year, 2024, which gives us 78 years. So since 1946 to today, they are just remembering to provide Africa with some slots in the Security Council. 78 years after its formation, up to this point, is when they are remembering to place Africa with 1.4 billion people on that permanent Security Council position. Is it fair? Doesn't Africa want more? Nkola Mahad Wisdom University surely feel that it is not fair to Africans. That since the formation of the Security Council in 1946 up to today, no African country had been offered permanent position of veto power at the Security Council. The question is, why give Africa only two slots without veto power? Africa that has 1.4 billion people. Why giving us only 2 slots in the Security Council? Why Europe, which has 738 million people, have 3 countries, permanent and with veto power? Again, Nkola Mahad feel that this is also unfair to Africans. And the question is, shall we Africans continue to depend and believe in the United Nations? That's the question all of us have to answer. Shall we continue to believe in what is going on over there in the United Nations, where we are not given equal right, where we are not given what is due to us? This is the question Nkola Mahad want all Africans to be asking and to take action, because it's truly unfair that all humans are created equal, and now you are assigning positions, permanent positions and power only to those that won the Second World War for many years. And now, even when you want to give us permanent position, you give it to us without no veto power. That's not fair. And before we continue, we have to ask you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our program, comment, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms. And most importantly, share our programs, share our lectures to everybody. The lectures at this university in Nkola Mahad is for everybody. And where we present lectures from the angle eye of a Biafran and an African. So the takeaway, because we know that we're going to be keeping things short in this university, the takeaway from today's lecture is that what you see going on at the United Nations are creations by those who won the Second World War. Who are those that won the Second World War? United States, United Kingdom, Soviet Union, France, and China. They are the ones that formed the United Nations. They are the ones that formed the UN Security Council. Because soon after that war, the United Nations was formed on October 24, 1945. Then following that was the Security Council to maintain world peace. And in that Security Council, you have the 5 permanent members. Those 5 permanent members are those that won the war. France, Russia, United Kingdom, United States, China. 5 of them are permanent members, and they have veto power. While the other 10 non-permanent members are voted in every 2 years. They put in 10 people, but these other 5 are permanent there. And when you consider the size of Africa, we're sitting on 11.7 million square miles with about 1.4 billion people. And since the formation of the United Nations Security Council, they never thought that it is good for Africans to be given a permanent position and with veto power. When you compare to Europe, a small continent, have 3 countries, France, United Kingdom, and Russia, who are not only permanent members, but also have veto power. So they are the ones deciding what is going on in the world. And this is why we want all Africans to know, we want all Biafrans to know that they never remembered us since the formation of the United Nations Security Council in 1946 up to today. And now that they want to give us slots, they just want to give us only 2 slots. They want to give only 2 membership of the Security Council. And that membership will not have any veto power. Nkoloma Hamilton, that is very bad for Africans and Biafrans. And that's why we decided to bring it to your knowledge. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. But before we do, we have to advise you to please, Africans come together to dismantle all the colonial boundaries in Africa, because they are the foundation of all the hunger, all the wars, all the forceful migrations, all the sufferings, all the loss of identity that we are having in Africa. If we as Africans cannot go to Europe and say, you are one country, you are this country, why should we allow them to come to our land to do the same? Think about it. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. But before we do, we have to ask you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, share our programs, share, and be part of what we are doing, because this lecture is for everybody. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Obiora Mba. Thank you again for joining me in this live lecture.